Our next presenter is Tracey Kelley. Tracey is a member of the editorial board for the Modern Dickens Project, a serial mystery novel set in Iowa. So please welcome Tracey.
Thanks, Laura. Glad I got to follow you. So our story starts in Victorian England, a time that was of great prosperity for some people. But there was a lot of industrialization. They had put in together a wonderful sewer system, which doesn't sound like a big deal now, but it had an opportunity to help reduce disease and pestilence and all these other health concerns, so people thought they were really advancing. But it wasn't all fancy dudes and wonderful technology. There were a lot of people suffering from poverty. There were debtors' prisons. There were issues with class equality that a lot of people didn't really think were a big deal, except for one guy, and that was Charles Dickens. Because of his issues and the way he grew up, he thought that he was the voice of the common man, and so he set out to tell the stories that we know are iconic today in classic literature. He really thought that people deserved to know that change needed to happen with social norms, and he knew that he was the guy to do it. But like a lot of writers, he was dirt poor, and he had no money. He had no credit. He couldn't put a book together, so what he did often was create weekly and monthly installments. So it was kind of like the Mark Burnett reality television of his day, where he could entice the reader to catch the next installment. And it was like so cool, and people would meet him on the docks and go, oh my gosh. So flash forward to Iowa. By golly, we've had a few changes in our social norms over the past couple of years, haven't we? Just a few. And it's making the East Coast and the West Coast kind of scratch their heads a little bit and go, flyover state, doing some stuff, really? Who knew? And we're proud of that. So flash forward again to the Modern Dickens Project. Chris Draper decided to start this nonprofit to give writers in Iowa, and frankly around the country, an opportunity to tell the story of Iowa as it is now. Not the silos, not those pastoral rural vistas that do exist, but aren't all what we're made up to be. And by allowing writers, especially emerging writers, to talk about what's going on in Iowa, we have an opportunity to educate people and help them understand that Iowa is changing, and it's a good thing, and we like that. And so people compete. We started off by having one author create one chapter, and that allowed us to set the course. This is John Domini. He was our initial author, very established dude, and he kind of set the course for a mystery novel when he created so many different avenues that any writer could just pick a thread and go, I like this character, I like this plot, I'm running this away. So to be able to do that once a month, create a chapter in 21 days. Now, anybody who writes out here, anybody? Okay, thank you. Chapter in 21 days, could you do it? Yeah, exactly. More people are brave than you think, and we've started getting a whole bunch of fabulous submissions. People do compete though. We pick one chapter a month. We have an opportunity to go through amazing, amazing creativity. And that one winning author gets their chapter published, wins $100, not too shabby. Anybody who's participated in writing contests knows that's a big, big deal. The editorial board includes me, Rachel Vogel, Callie Bombali, and Merle Pace. I'm like there. And we go over all these submissions. And I have to admit, it's like our birthdays. We get all these cool things. We have no idea that writers could have taken this story in those directions. And we're going to publish a book in December, just in time for Christmas. We have 12 chapters. We just finished chapter 6. The deadline is March 21st for chapter 7. So we're hoping that by the time December rolls around, this hot book will be in everybody's hands. So what is the story anyway? I've got my little cheat sheet here because there's no way that I can remember the full plot. But basically, Sticka is a former MP. She's visiting the state capitol because she's come back to Des Moines to go to the wedding of her former lover, Emmy, who's marrying another woman. She gets this ominous text message from Emmy, runs down to East Village where Emmy's apartment is located, only to find the police there investigating Emmy's death. This starts a cross-state lead chase with Sticka, her law student boyfriend Saul, a strange, nefarious character named Selma Jesnik, who may or may not be tied to a military connective service, may or may not be a Bosnian immigrant and construction worker. We don't know. We don't know. There are a few other characters, too, that we're not too sure about, including Emmy's brother Richard, who comes from this wealthy family, but he's spoiled rotten, and he may or may not be running a drug ring. And then there's Mitchell Stevens, who is this shady lawyer, down on his luck, may or may not be doing a good thing for Sticka's defense. Did I mention Sticka ends up in jail? Yeah, she's a suspect of interest. You know, all these things are happening. Meanwhile, everybody is running across the state, chasing leads, trying to find out who killed Emmy. Was it suicide? Was it a murder? We don't know. And these authors have come up with these fabulous tales in 21 days. And so again, as a member of the editorial board, I am constantly amazed at the wonderful creativity of the submissions. So those authors include John Dominy, Janet Rowe-Pillar, John O'Donnell, C. Michael Cox, artist Van Roykel Rice, and some anonymous dude, or gal, who could just created a mystery within a mystery. Thank you so much for that. Now, if any of you are out in the audience and you wrote some of this, please raise your hand, because I haven't met you yet. I'm supposed to be anonymous. So, here's the deal. Iowa is changing. Who better than the artists to tell that story? Who better than the people who are from this community to be able to talk about what's really going on in this state so that other people understand and celebrate the challenges and the changes that I was experiencing? So if you're a writer, or you know a writer, or you bumped into some writer on the street, talk about the Modern Dickens Project. It's a nonprofit, one winning chapter, $100 to the winner, one book in December. Thanks so much.